Hi, welcome to the channel, Budget Audio Review and Upgrades. Today I'll be reviewing, well comparing mainly, the Sansui 221 receiver, a low end budget receiver in the mid-70s so to speak, and the 331, which was the next one up in the range. And these did go from 221 right the way up to 881, and a bloke that's got pretty much all of them apart from the 221 is a bloke called Stereo Review X. So if you want to go and see the complete range, he's got it on his channel there, and goes over a few more sound differences between that that range so to speak. But I wanted to do the 221. Not much information really about the 221 compared with the 331, and this can be picked up really cheap when it's about, and if is it worth getting, and what are the differences between just one model up so to speak. So we'll have a look inside as well and compare them. These come out, like I was saying, about 1975-76. The only price comparison I could do is I found a little bit of information as what they went for in 1977 in pounds here in the UK, and the 221 sold for about £96 and the 331 sold for £106, so £10 difference. And for that £10 extra you'd get an extra 4 watts. This bottom one's rated at 8 watts a channel, and the 331 is rated at 12 watts, which doesn't sound a lot, but in today's terms that's probably about 25 watts, and that's probably about 30 watts, something like that. It's considered that the old wattage going back years ago, like in the 70s and that, they're quite quite a lot more than what they actually state they are. They've got a bit more punch and a bit more to them than what you think really. I've got a video on the channel of Pioneer SX 300 and 440, and they're both low wattage receivers, and I'll give them a belt up and you can see how they go, and that's with the camera cutting in with the auto leveling as well. They can give out quite a big sound really. Like obviously these need to be matched up with quite sensitive speakers, minimum of 89 dB I think, and that seems to be like the average these days, 89, and if you can get up higher, 90, 92, 93, so something like that, you're going to get obviously more sound out of them as well. Won't go much lower than that depending on the size of the room, and this is for a medium sized room. I've had this downstairs 7 yards should I say by 3.5 yards, and they fill up the room all right, with a pair of speakers. You have no trouble hearing them, that's for certain. Okay, yeah, like I say, what we're going to do, we're going to have a look inside, and these are very similar, these two receivers, and I'll come to the sound later on how they compared with each other. But if we have a look inside, first of all, is the top. I mean, you can get these, these come up on eBay, and if you ever get anyone with all loads of marks on it and all that, you can always recover these. They're fairly straightforward. They've got a video of recovering this 331. Just an air dryer, peel the veneer off, and you can put your own veneer, own pattern on it or whatever. But here's my 221. I mean, that may need a new top at some stage. Here's a 331 that I've actually recovered. Like I say, obviously not everyone's cup of tea, that cover, but I'm just showing you can easily recover it with all different patterns, styles, veneer, whatever you want to do, any kind of thing really. This is inside the 221, and here's inside the 331. And if we put both tuners together side by side, as you can see, they're exactly the same tuner inside of both of these. And if we put both amps together, they look pretty much exactly the same here, and they are really, because if we stick up a circuit diagram of both of them, the only thing that's different here really is obviously the power supply is slightly different. There's a slightly different voltage coming off the power supply, but it's just the main difference is the chips, the actual output chips. Amp on a chip they call it. The STK13 is in the 221 and the STK14 is in the 331, and that is the major difference between them. Other than that, there's no difference at all between these two receivers. Just a quick picture there though. There is a slight, say the transformer is different, slightly different voltage coming off of that. To supply different voltages here to the chips, as you can see, there's 4 differences between the 221's chip and the 331's chip supplied, and volt test voltages off that chip. Just just a subtle difference there. A bit more voltage going in. I think it's 45 into the 331. Obviously to give more power output, more voltage going in. Okay, so that's both units. Like I say, the only other difference on the front really is that you've got on this one here, the bottom one, it's a very basic, obviously this is the bottom of the range basic, so you've just got one set of speakers on here, where you've got 2 sets of speakers on the top one. Obviously the low wattage, they're probably thinking, well, it's not going to be powerful enough to do 2 sets of speakers. Well, this has got a little bit more wattage, give it the extra set of speakers. So you just got on there and that's it, where here you've got on, speakers A off, speakers B and speakers A, B, and the only very slight other difference in that is actually, if you can see here on the tuning meter, the bottom one is a bit more, it's not so much lit up, it's like the surround of it hasn't been blacked out so to speak, where the top one has. It's the same meter, but it's been more blacked out here, so it looks a bit, well, it just looks a bit sharper, I suppose, than this one. But other than that, everything else is exactly the same on both units. Okay, so like I say, this one here has been reviewed quite a bit on the forums and even on YouTube, the 331. I wanted to show the 221, you know, just any, because this comes up relatively cheap really when it's on eBay. You get this for £50, somewhere around there, $60, $70, something like that. And the 331 goes for about 80 quid, I would have thought, $100, something like that. So, you know, is it worth hanging around, spending an extra $30? And is this bottom one any good compared to the 331? Okay, as you see, both tuners are exactly the same, and they're both good tuners. You wouldn't need much of an aerial here to get a signal. They're really strong signal on the tuners. So that's one thing where they're exactly the same. Another thing, as you see in the circuit which I put up earlier, the phono stage in both of these are exactly the same. So they're both exactly the same phono stages, and the phono stage sounded quite nice, isn't it? There's nothing wrong with a phono stage. So what is the main difference here sound wise? You know, you're getting 4 watts less. Does that make much of a difference? Well, to be honest with you, volume wise, I'll go volume wise first. I actually turned this one up just a tad less to get more volume out, which I couldn't quite work out really. It was only a tad. It may just be a way the actual pot inside is. There may be slightly different resistance to pots. I've got a video about different resistance on pots, and even though they're both exactly the same pot inside, one may be just slightly out to the other, so as you turn it, it's a bit less resistance in that particular place than it is on the other, something like that. It could be something to do with that. But yeah, it was only a fraction, but I was surprised. I thought we'd be able to turn this one up a little bit more than the top one, this 221 up slightly higher to get the same kind of level volume, but I didn't. I actually turned this one up just a fraction more to get the same level of volume when I was doing my tests, obviously with different speakers and whatever, to try and get a general feel of what they both sounded like. But overall, they both sound, as quite a lot of people say, this is like a sweet sound. This is a smooth, sweet sound that both of these give off. I'll talk about the 331 really first. It's a smooth, sweet sound. It's quite dynamic, you know what I mean? It sounds quite nice. The vocals are nice, they're smooth, they're not harsh or anything like that. They're nice and smooth, the vocals. Going back to Stereo Review X, he calls this a sound you could listen to all day long. It's not going to irritate you or anything like that, which it doesn't. It's a very nice sound. You know, I totally agree with his review on this. He's also reviewed a 441, I think, on there, which I'm keen to get hold of, to be honest with you. And I'll hang about. I'll wait till one comes up at a reasonable price. I'm not going to start bidding everyone, you know, when one comes up or whatever. So, you know, I can pick and choose what I want to review next. I'll go for the cheap stuff. I'm not going to overpay for something just to review it. There's plenty of time to come up. At one stage, I'll hopefully get, you know, further up the chain, so to speak. But yeah, it's a very smooth sound, quite detailed, quite open sound. Like, yeah, very nice indeed. The bass is quite, you know, it's quite a tight bass. It's a controlled bass. It's not flabby in any way. It's not woolly, anything like that. You know, it's got quite a bit of punch to the bass. Still talking about the 331 here. Yeah, overall, it's a nice sounding receiver. It really is. It does, you know, for what you're going to pay for it, you're going to get quite a nice unit here. Treble, like I say, it's detailed. It's got plenty of treble there. Overall, you know, it's quite refined. It's quite a nice sound. You know, it's quite a nice sound, this unit. And as Stereo Review X, I'm actually up with quite a few different speakers. It seems to give a good sound on any set of speakers, kind of thing. You know what I mean? It helps the speakers out. The only ones I had a slight problem with, I think it's not going to help out, was maybe the Wolfdales. I go on about them, but they were a bit on the bassy side, a bit bass forward, a bit heavily on the bass. It didn't, you know, I didn't like them speakers, to be honest with you. And yeah, it probably weren't going to help them out. And Celestial Dittons as well were quite a mid-rangey speaker. I thought the Dittons 15s I had, it kind of helped them out a little bit, but not a lot. But in general, it can help the speakers, and it's not too fussy on what speakers you put with it. Maybe with some other amps are quite fussy, like kind of thing. So how did this 221 compare with a 331? I would say the bass is not quite as much bass in it. You know, it's not as a nice boom bass kind of thing. It's not as it's not quite controlled, I suppose, so much as his top one. It's not got so much oomph to it, the bass. It's not so much oomph to it, the bass here. I felt the vocals were a little bit more vocally, this amp, a little bit more vocals, that kind of range, more vocal, you know, vocal kind of range to it, a bit more forward, the vocals a little bit. The treble was quite nice. The treble was nice. It's near enough matched up to this. You know, they're very, very similar. But the treble just had a little bit more detail in this 331. I felt it weren't a lot. It's just a smidgen. I mean, when you first turn these amps on, both, you know, you compare them. If you're not listening out, you're just going to turn them on and listen. You know, someone comes in, I turn one on, then flick on the other one, they're probably not going to notice this so much. You may just notice the bass a little bit, but you know, if I flick between them and say which one's on, they're probably going to have, you know, going to guess more than a no kind of thing. They're very, very similar. The sound, the actual main sound itself is nigh on identical. They're very, very similar, the sound. Just for the bass is a little bit more warmer and richer on this this amp here. You know, the actual presentation was a little bit more warmer and richer on this one here than it was on the 221, but not vastly. You know, this is just a little bit. But you know, like I say, it's still worth getting this bottom. If you see this up for 40, 50 pound or something, you're going to bit, that's for certain. But like you know, at the end of the day, this one was just a little bit better, just a little bit better, and you expect that. I would have thought this is bottom of the range, this is the next one up. A little bit surprising because everything in the amp all the way along the circuit until the actual chip, the amp on the chip, is exactly the same. So it's going through the same tone controls, all the values are the same. All I could turn around and say is that maybe some of the capacitors are slightly wandered off there, like, you know, where they should be. Maybe it's maybe just give a slight difference in the tonal qualities. That could be the case. You know, some, you know, one capacitor, I don't know, guessing 10 microfarad, all of a sudden may read 7 microfarad these days, something like that. So it may just alter the tone a little bit. But yeah, it's, you know, both are exactly the same, so that it gets that amp on a chip. So I would have thought that it's probably, even though, you know, that characteristics of that amp on a chip's just making the sound difference between these two. So in other words, if I actually took the chip out of this one here, the top one, and put it in the bottom one, obviously with the correct voltage going to it and everything like that, they're probably going to sound exactly the same. You know what I mean? It's probably just that chip that's making the slight difference, the characteristics of that amp on a chip that's making the you know, the difference, because there's not a lot to the circuit on this. You know what I mean? You know, you've got the two transistors for the preamp for your phono stage, and you just got one transistor driving these amp on the chips after that. Very simple circuit, not a lot to it really, to be honest with you. So yeah, a little bit surprised. You know, when I first see the circuit and everything, I thought these are going to pretty much, and when I first turned them on, I thought, well, these sound pretty much the same. But there is that subtle difference. So like I say, the bass is just a bit more to it here. The bass on the top one, probably because it's got the extra 4 watts, probably helps as well. And just a little bit more detail. And this bottom one, like I say, the vocals are a little bit more forward, a little bit more on the vocal side, like that kind of frequencies are a bit more prominent, but both sounded really nice. You know what I mean? If you got either one, you wouldn't be disappointed, I don't think. Okay, so I think that really wraps it up on these two receivers here, so I hope that's helped up someone somewhere. Okay, yeah, okay, yeah, I will go now. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.